Gentlemen, ladies, NCR, NCR. Yep, let's stay with it, stay with it. Where are we going, where are we going? Bring him back, bring him back. In fact, different chart for you. I am going to show you the NCR and why I believe it is going to be stinking up the place. So NCR, kind of ATMs for a while, sort of early stages, hardware tech company. I think it's in an unsexy space personally. Give you a little bit more of a view of how it's rolled of late. That was its bull market, and that was a little upside gap worth noting. We have a key level of significance of 30 here, which I think has been a paramount level for a long time. I have my suspicions. Borrowing money, and who knows, maybe buying some stock. So that was a $30 level. This was an exhaustion gap, and it came probably with a prior to earnings announcement. This effectively forms a shooting star that properly tops and tails what was a rising wedge bull period, a bull spell anyway. You often pop out the top on rising wedges, and you certainly did there, and that creates that shooting star structure. You did also have a gap here, which is fascinating because we've already identified a very interesting funnel level, and it coincides perfectly with our expected down trade. So there's an important thing to tell you. So NCR actually has news announcements. I've yet to know how it does. It'll only open trade tomorrow. So you guys, you won't be in this trade, or if you are, it will already have gapped down, or we'll be 100% inaccurate. We won't be partially inaccurate. It could go 100% the other way. But the structure here is inverted HVF and is ugly as sin for me. So I would bet on down, and that it could be a gap down, and I would say if it is, we would be looking at 2170. It's time to bring this chart in. We'll come back to that one. Essentially, what is this chart? It's a draw of this very event. I want to point out various things. This is a case where we have had probably a pre-announcement of potential disappointing earnings, hence the high volume, news drives, things like that. Then the earnings came. These little E's are telling you earnings, and there was increased volume, so most of it was baked into the price, but it was selling off. Then you got a little bit of expectation, hope, and praise, only to be disappointed on an earnings and then sell off. You came into your third earnings, aka 1, 2, 3. Let's put the tags in there, down there as well if you want to highlight them. But there's the volume, huge volume. It gapped down. That's your gaps. These red zones that I painted in are gap zones, bear gap zones. I call that the potential slap in the face change of trend event. That's your bear gap zone. There's a bear gap zone. Here's your bear gap zone over here. And then you got another gap zone on an earning. So let's just get this straight. You're 4 out of 4 for selling off of late for NCR. You can't put lipstick on a pig. It's 4 out of 4. 1, 2, 3 of those had major sell-off gaps. Earnings gap, earnings gap, earnings gap, sell-off. So very interesting. Now earnings is going to come out tonight. This is inverted HVF structure. It's ugliest, and massive shout out to Joe. Joe's one of our guys on the community. He spotted this. He does work and workshops on the equities around earnings events, and this is the kind of gift that you could get. You guys try short this now. I'm afraid the market's closed, and whatever the announcement will be out. Once again, we're flying in the face of analysts. The analysts are saying expected forecast earnings for the quarter is 0.44. Last year was 0.56. But everyone rating it a buy, not just an ordinary buy, quite strongly into the green. Buy. They're expecting good stuff. And I have to say, I'm not. On the basis of the charting, I'm not. It seems to me from this chart that actually this is one of those stock buying situations, borrow money from the bank, that they're trying to hold a 30 here. Incidentally, it would be quite interesting because it could even give you a right shoulder to a blow-off head that starts with a gap at the $30 mark. Go away, you horrible thing, and makes a head and then sells off back down to a neckline on a gap, then forms an inverted HVF. Were that to happen, oh my God, that's a bit extreme, but it can happen. I'm not calling it. I'm just saying there's risk here. There's risk indeed. So if you got that sell off, you'll plummet right down there. So this is what the guys in the community are digging up on their newbies and their workshop groups on the weekends, and on our US sessions, on our Aussie sessions, and of course the European time frame sessions. And I'm really impressed with the work that Joe's turned in here. This is a beautiful structure inverted HVF by our view. This is an exhausting squeezing push-up with eventual blow-off top that sold off. Huge blow-off volume. Maybe there was nothing said, who knows, but there's clear earnings announcements. Everyone got a bit giddy about it, so they were expecting it to be okay, got a bit baked in, some recovery, or maybe they fired some people. That's great bonuses for board members when you do that. But anyway, my cynicism will get the better of me, but I'm not impressed by the company as a whole, generally with a little I know of it, but this is a technical assessment, and this looks like an inverted HVF. The amazing thing also is, had you got in short prior, you would have got short in on the break of a bear flag. We look for a bear flag in an inverted HVF as a sell-off. It's a classic sign. In other words, weak grinding attempt to get a rally on the third one. Look at that. There you go. You sell the break there. You get in earlier than our traditional entry. You've got a key level of significance that's been tapped on once, twice, 3 times a lady, I like to say, and then you go on number 4. Interim, you have second interim, and you have a target somewhere down here at the 2170. By the way, risk reward 8.23, very juicy. Plus, you have the outsider, if you wanted to leave a little on the table, with what I'm indicating here, the potential for an overall sell-off that is similar to what we call the HVF method, head and shoulders. That would probably be pretty brutal. Let's just remind everybody how we see stocks at the moment. I'm not too sure if this is going to be what I expect it to be. Stocks we're not too excited about right now. Let's do the Dow for you. Dow US stocks are looking like they could also be in inverteds, and you could have a sell-off, or they're going to turn and moon it. This is not a, and that sounds, if that sounds like I'm hedging my bets, I'm not. What I mean is it's got very tight, and the volatility is getting tight, and there's likely for a big move. On balance of probabilities, I think there's still nerves in the Dow and the S&P. We don't know exactly how they'll turn out. But anyway, while I wait for that to load. So that's the story with NCR. Note the earnings and how you get gaps. That would be called a breakaway gap. That is called another breakaway gap. That's the exhaustion one, where it then falls down, and then we get continuation gaps to the downside, and they're driven by news events. So technicals don't undermine fundamentals. Fundamentals don't undermine technicals. It's two sides of a different coin. Let's just pop that in there and see if this is even possible. If it goes to minus 300, you know you're in trouble with a call. It would be rather stinky ugly, but I never say never, gents, and lovely ladies too. Never say never. You could run this one all the way down to 9, and you'll be shocked at the crazy calls we put out and that have turned out. Do I have any inside info on this place? Not at all. Do I like going into an earnings report in an inverted HVF? I'm expecting, if any of you placed orders, warning, this is not a trade advisory. This is not a call to a trade. What could in fact happen is you get a terrible number and it gaps all the way down here, and you get short only here on the gap if you put a pending order for the open, and then it rallies all the way and it shakes you right the hell out and closes the gap before maybe selling off further. You don't want to be silly now. You've got to be in a community, and you've got to be in the trade, and you've got to be early. So I'm afraid you're getting this as an observer for what comes next. If we're wrong, it will probably move completely another direction, but these momentum sell-offs don't point to confidence, and that structure is classic of an inverted. So NCR, let's see. I'm going to be 180 degrees wrong, and all the haters are going to come out and say, yeah, you were wrong. Well, we don't know. It's not about being right and wrong. For us, it's about practicing the method. The balance of probabilities will be in our favor. That is not a guarantee. People who understand and respect that and can see the value of technical analysis in equity trading, can see the value of assessing gaps, can see the role of earnings and how it's played out in this environment, will see this as a very interesting case study. See it in that light. watch and observe and see how the reporting comes in on NCR, and come back and tell us your take once it's baked into the cake, basically. And we'll see how the market deals with it on the US Open. I expect if it's pretty poor, if you're very lucky in the UK, you might get some aftermarket stuff, but I certainly don't have the privilege to that. So Joe and the guys, well done for getting in early. I am not in this, but would love to be. So I'm not even claiming anything, even if it does perform. We'll see. We see. Fascinating. Well done to Joe. Well done to Brett and the team who work the earnings. Lovely volume by price, low slung, showing that we're knocking on the ground floor here, guys. This one's looking for the trapdoor. Your volume by price is being added up and accumulated here, and all the way there. This thing is leaning on the trapdoor. It is on fumes when it's up here. It is on heavy fuel when it's sniffing out the trapdoor. Anyway, see you later. Enjoy, and a great case study. We'll see what happens next, mainly for interest's sake and for the community guys that are in the short. Well done to you all. Okay, speak to you all later. By the way, if you want to find out about that, go to themarketsniper.com and hit the get started button. And it's not for everybody. It's for people who take full responsibility for the outcomes and are ready to learn an awesome method for doing technical analysis and to get the news before the news, which is often happening in the structure of patterns before the events are even made public. The collective wisdom of the crowd and the insiders know. Yes, they do. Okay, speak to you later. Bye for now.